Hey, y'all.
Welcome to Carlie's Couch.
Again, we have a real couch.
We're not going to remind you that every time, don't worry.
Just these first two. They're real special.
But today, as you can see, and not yet hear, we do have a special guest.
Dun, 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 dun.
Carlie with the sound effects. Go ahead and introduce her, Carlie.
Man. Okay, so y'all know y'all have those people in your life who you can just keep raving and talking about all the things that they do. So I'm going to try not to do that and keep it short. But I am introducing my friend, Kiara Imani. She is a lawyer. She is a writer, former beauty queen, advocate for women, master planner, nonprofit owner. I feel like I missed a couple things, but if you haven't noticed, she does a lot of stuff. And when we were thinking about like amazing...
A
boss, basically. Boss chick. Oh, actress, singer. I mean, there's just so many things. And so we're thinking about having guests on the show. I really wanted to reach out to Kiara to come because she just has an amazing story and does so much awesome stuff. And I thought it'd be a great place to share.
Thank you for that introduction. I feel so special.
That was beautiful.
But you are special.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you for joining us, though.
thanks, guys. I'm excited to
We know we're about to learn a lot of things.
We are.
Hopefully.
And first,
Yeah.
I just want to shout out Sanford, her father, because he listens to all the podcast episodes.
Really?
every week.
Oh,
He is y'all's
Really?
biggest fan. My
that's so
dad
funny.
was
We got to get him a T-shirt.
like, "Dad, have you listened to Carlie's Couch yet?" He
Aw.
listens before I listen.
I bet he does.
Yeah.
And he like asked me things about it. He was like, so in order to be your friend, I have to be a troll?
Oh, he know the
No,
details.
he knows for real. So shout out to Sanford for supporting us and being such an amazing dad. She has such an awesome family. And like I said, I'm going to try not to brag and just get into the story. So, Kiki, who are you?
That's such a hard question.
She's going to come out the gate.
Right?
Yeah,
So
right out the
deep, right out the gate. You know, people ask that question, and I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but my brain is always like freaking out trying to put everything that I do into a box. Like, what do I say? Do I talk about like my profession, my passion, what I've achieved, what I want to achieve? But in this season of life, I've tried to just really focus on like being the type of person I want to be instead of the things that I want to do. So to answer your question, like, who am I? I'm a woman who loves people, who loves herself, and wants to make the world a better place. To be, you know, not in a cliche way, but I feel like that's just the best description right now.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too. And so often we do have to, quote unquote, put ourselves in boxes for interviews and for all of these things. And when you're meeting people, especially I feel like in LA, it's like, well, what do you do? And people are very attentive to that, like seeing if they fit together, if there's something you can do for them. And if not, like very quick to dismiss you or like, oh, so you're a lawyer. Oh,
yeah. And especially working in entertainment, I feel like people are always hitting me up for what I can do. So now I like to get to know people before they know what I do. And if you was rocking with me before, we can continue conversation. Like, I don't really have space right now for people in my life who just want something all the time.
Where are you from?
I'm from Manassas, Virginia.
Oh, okay.
Which most people have never heard of. That's okay. There's not a lot there. It's a really small town. We were the first battle in the Civil War.
A lot of VA state troopers hanging around the highway. I know about that.
Yes, that is truth. But yeah, I've been out here in LA for almost 3 years now, which is crazy.
3 years?
Did you come after college?
I came after law school.
Oh, okay. So then what was your journey then from Virginia to here?
I told my family, like, my whole life that I was going to live in a big city. I told my friends. Nobody believed me, though, right? Like, but I feel like knowing me, you should know that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I graduated law school, and I told my parents and my friends, like, yo, I'm out. And they were like, you didn't give us any warning. And I was like, I've been warning y'all for
My whole
20-something years. Yeah.
But she's the type of person that wears fur to go to the grocery store. They should have known.
You're right. I do.
Naomi Campbell.
She is, though.
Listen, life is too short. I'm just like, why not be fabulous every second of every day?
Okay.
And that is you. Like, definitely. So, why LA?
Man, I love this city. There's just so much here. I think coming from a small town, too, like, I just really appreciate the fact that I could go someplace and meet somebody new every night. Like, and if you're somebody who's always lived in a big city, that might sound like, oh yeah, you could do that anywhere. That's not true. Where I'm from, like, we have like a cute little coffee shop. We have a cute little mall. like a super Target, or I think Target's gone actually now, super Walmart. There just aren't options. Like here, doesn't matter if I want to go skiing, if I want to go hiking, if I want to go swim at the beach, go to a coffee shop, hang out with friends, do something low key, hang out on a rooftop. Like it's all here in one space, and I love that.
So I take it you're an extrovert. Like you like to do things and be out.
Yeah. I'm like an extrovert who pretends to be an introvert sometimes. I don't know why. I just feel like it sounds cool to be like, I need my alone time. But in real life, I hate being alone. I'm an extrovert. I want to live with people forever. I never want my own apartment. I love that I can talk. I love social media. I love talking on the phone. I love the fact that I'm here with y'all right now.
Look, and my little introvert self over here is like, ooh, she's saying a lot of things right now that I'm like,
I know, and I feel like she was talking about me with that. I need my alone time because I definitely do need my alone time.
See, that's me trying to be like Carlie. I'd be like, I need my alone time too. And after like 10 minutes, I'm like, Carlie, what you doing?
No.
So, all the things that you mentioned, like you could have done that in New York. You could have done that in a lot of other places, but was there a connection to LA outside of just it being a big city that brought you here?
Not really. It wasn't a deep thing for me. I think when things like cross my mind and it sounds like a great idea, I just do it. And if I don't ask the question, if I can't say why not, like I'm going to do it. Like if I don't have a reason not to do it, I'm probably just going to go for it. So, some people will like make a list of all the potential places they want to live and like look up cost of living and look at the job market. No, I just woke up and was like, I like Clueless. That was in LA. That sounds fun. I think I'm going to go there. And that was it. I'm not saying that that's the wisest thing to do. I am not advocating for that because when I got out here, I didn't have no place to live, no money. Like it was a struggle, but I think it just keeps life very light for me. Like there are just so many other heavy decisions I have to make in life. Whenever I get to make one that's just like free and fun, I like to do it.
Well, I made an observation, this being the first time meeting you, that you said you moved here after law school. And yet, does that mean you took the bar in California or that you never took a bar? Or you took it and decided that's not for you?
Oh, no. I took the bar. I took the bar back home. But thankfully, I practice in-house counsel.
Okay.
So I'm registered here in California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then tell us, what do you do?
So what do I do? I work at FabFitFun. I work in the business and legal affairs office, and I negotiate all of their contracts for the influencers and the celebrities that market our products. And then I do a lot of our production agreements for FabFitFun TV. So very entertainment heavy.
And what's FabFitFun?
We are a women's subscription lifestyle company. But basically, you go online, you sign up, you get a subscription box to your house 4 times a year, full of like makeup products, beauty products, and home products. The socks I have on right now actually didn't mean to market my job, but yeah, lots of fun stuff. It's just like it's a happy place to work. Anyone who's ever visited my office is like, oh my gosh, everybody here is so happy. And I care about a lot of things, but I think just like on a very basic level, as women, we feel really good about ourselves when we feel like we look good. And that doesn't mean like wearing a full face of makeup. I love fur. You don't have to wear fur. But when you're taking care of yourself and your skin is glowy and you're doing your face mask and your cuticles are on point, like there's something that feels so good about that and that confidence that comes with it. So I love that I get to do that on a daily basis.
No, it is. How did you get to FabFitFun? Did you like move out here and then they were like, oh, you're hired?
I did not know what FabFitFun was when I got here. So I had interned at MTV. I interned at Disney. I came out here and I was working at the Creative Artists Agency, and I just assumed I was going to end up at some like big studio. And I saw this job opening at FabFitFun, and I was like, well, this is at the bottom of the list. Like, they're not a big name. But I went in for my interview, and I loved the company, and I think it's really cool to be a part of a company that's growing too, because I work for a lot of big companies, and all of my past experiences have been awesome in different ways. But with a bigger company, everything's kind of set in stone, and you're just kind of learning the ropes, and you're jumping into somebody else's position. At FabFitFun, they created my position for me. Our influencer marketing team was really growing when I got there, and I just have a lot more responsibility than I had at a lot of other places, and I feel like I'm making a difference, which is a really cool thing to do this early in my career.
How do you feel like you're making a difference?
We have new programs every day.
Mm-hmm.
When I started, we had 180 people. Now we have over 400 employees.
Wow.
Our FabFitFun TV program has exploded. Our influencer program has exploded. We're doing lots of different things, lots of cool, like, business development things that I can't talk about yet because not everything is public yet. But, you know, they've just given me they trust me there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've given me a lot of responsibility, and no one's in my face trying to micromanage all the time. And that feels like really good.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's awesome. What else do you do in addition to, because I mean, I know you, but to share with everybody, just giving a glimpse on all the other things that you do?
Yeah, so gosh, there's so many things. Almost doesn't even make sense. So when people ask me what I do, yes, I am an attorney by trade, but I have so many other things that I'm passionate about and that I care about. I learned very early on that the things that were like nearest and dearest to my heart was storytelling. Like, I love storytelling. I mentioned earlier, like, I watched Clueless and decided to move to LA. But coming from a small town, pretty much everything I knew about the world, I read in a book or I saw on television. So I'm just really passionate about the creative space in general.
Mm-hmm.
People who tell stories, you know, through acting, through dancing, through singing, through poetry and spoken word. If you're telling stories, I support you. So I have a nonprofit called Imani Arts, and we help children who want to be in the entertainment space, or who just want access to entertainment and, you know, don't have that because of, you know, money. Maybe their parents can't afford classes, or maybe they just have never heard of like what it means to be a poet, because what 7-year-old has, you know, been exposed to poetry. I didn't get exposed to poetry until much later in life. So that's been really cool. And, you know, it's really hard to navigate the entertainment industry, especially as a child. And a lot of parents quit their jobs and move out here for their children. And they don't have agents, they don't have managers, they don't know what they're doing. But kids are thirsty. Like, that's why I, like, in terms of working with artists, I much prefer to work with children, because they know what they love and they go for it. They work hard, they're fearless. So that's really, Imani Arts is really near and dear to my heart. I also have a recent development that I was just featured in Forbes magazine for. Thank you. But I started an event called Femme Fortune, and it's really to empower women in business. And, you know, in addition to being like really passionate about just storytelling, I think empowering people, specifically women who are underrepresented in a lot of storytelling spaces, to get in the room and not only use their talents, but make a difference is important to me. So all that being said, we offer practical tips and tools for women in business, because, you know, you might be the best writer, the best singer, the best storyteller, the best creator, the best video editor. But if you don't know how to negotiate for your salary, if you don't know what to look for in your contracts, if you don't know what to ask for what you want, how to get yourself in a room, how to command attention when you get in the room, chances are the world's never even going to see what you have to offer. So just bringing together women who can pour into younger women, not even really younger women, because we had women of all ages at the past event. Yeah. But women who are like, okay, I have something to offer the world. Help me. Like, I want not just like you can do it. And that's great too. Everyone needs encouragement, but like the practical tools. Like, I like knowing, what do I have to do to get in the room? How do I get people to take me seriously? How do I get people to pay me what I'm worth?
So is Femme Fortune an organization, or is it just an event that you do ongoing?
It's an event. So a company that I started with a few colleagues called the Auditory Museum. That's the name of the organization. And we're really passionate just in general, again, about storytelling and helping people tell their stories. Femme Fortune is just one of the many events that we've put on in the last couple of years. But because of just my background and being a woman and having a very strong mother, and honestly, just watching a lot of women in business like get taken advantage of so many times. Like, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but I've just worked for so many spaces where I knew what the men and the women were making, and they'd be doing the exact same job, and maybe like $100,000 difference between the salary. And it's really troubling. And, you know, part of that is just, we can't change the system, right? Like, right away. Like, it takes time to change the system, but you can, as a woman, I think, do certain things, and there's certain ways that you can learn how to present yourself to make people take you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just like learning how to negotiate and ask for what you want, doing your research and making sure you're being fairly compensated is a really important part of like monetizing your art.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're so passionate about this, and like I went to Femme and Fortune. Actually, she
hosted Femme and Fortune and killed it.
Thank you. It was such a beautiful event because we did have people, primarily minority women, but women of all races, women of all ages, from different backgrounds. Like they're in the same room. We had a person from HR, and they're like, no, this is the things that you ask, and if you don't bring this to your interview, we don't take you seriously. Like it was such an awesome thing, but you shared so many important tips that day. I was just wondering, like, because on Carlie's Couch, we like to give practical tips to listeners. So if you have anything for like the women or even just the creatives that might be listening who are trying to either negotiate or get in the room, like, do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, well, actually, Forbes just featured this event and I wrote my top 10 tips. I think the author, her name was Mimi, she actually did like a really good job with the article. But let me just pull it up and go through a few with you because I feel like women need to be empowered. And you know, it is really important to me. All right.
Give them the URL as well if they want to check out the article in Forbes.
Or maybe your Insta.
I was gonna say, it's like, it's a long URL. It's like www,
Gotcha.
a whole bunch of letters. If you type Kiara Imani Williams Forbes, it should be the first thing that pops up. So my first tip, identify your perceived weakness and turn it into your strength. I think a lot of times, and I can't speak for everybody, but from my experience, when you're in an interview room and everybody asks about something that you perceive to be a weakness, like, oh no, they're going to talk about my insert something that you would say is a weakness for you. Or a perceived weakness.
Not a group. What is it? Not a team player. That's not really real, but I just said.
Okay, let's just say, oh no, they're going to realize that I'm not a team player. Figure out how to use that to your advantage. Like, a lot of people get lost in collaboration because they're super busy communicating all throughout the workday. I am excellent at sitting in a corner and getting my work done. So if you want someone who's going to be efficient, I'm the person you want to hire. And automatically, by taking that perceived weakness and turning it into a strength, you have control, and they're not thinking about what you can't do. They're thinking about what you can do. So that's the first one. Identify and learn to clearly articulate the value you bring to a given situation. This is really important. And when I say value, obviously not just monetary, but what do you have to offer? What problems do people have, and what solutions do you have to offer? And then once you know that, do your market research and see, okay, what do other people in this area, what are they charging? How do I measure up to people given my experience level, given my level of education, given the results that I have? I think one of the things I found in LA is a lot of people like to be like, oh, I'm worth this amount of money, but then you ask why and they can't articulate it. Just trust me. I'm like, nah, what have you done? And if you're honest with me and you say, hey, I'm not going to charge you as much as that company over there because I'm newer to this, but I believe in myself, I'm going to trust you more than somebody who's like, pay me this amount of money because I'm worth it. You know, it's really about building trust with the other person. And if you can like clearly communicate your value, you're already ahead of the game. How many do you want me to do? Because I got like 10 on here.
You can pick whichever one you feel are like most important.
Okay, let's see. Set boundaries for yourself and communicate those boundaries, bruh. Or
let's talk
ladies,
about that.
ladies,
and bruh,
everybody's watching. This has been, I mean, you know, because you have been close to me over the past couple of years. This has been a really important one for me in my personal life, in my relationships and business. Learning how to set boundaries. I think so many times we think that if we say no, or if we say, hey, this is where you begin and I end, people are going to withdraw love. They're going to walk away. They're going to take away an opportunity. But what I've learned is that people actually respect people who respect themselves. And by setting a boundary, you're communicating that you respect yourself. So, you know, an example of that in the workplace for me, like I don't answer emails past 5 p.m. Like I don't. I love my job, but it's an hour commute for me. I need to be able to get home and like do what I do in my personal life. And if I am going to like answer an email past 5 p.m., you're going to hear from me about it. And not in a mean way, because I don't think you have to be rude or a B to set a boundary. Just like, hey, I don't generally answer emails past 5 p.m. In the future, I'd appreciate if you could get this to me a little bit earlier. If it's an emergency, I'll handle it. But just know that this is a boundary for me. Mm-hmm. And then people can either choose to respect your boundaries, and that's cool. And if they don't respect your boundaries, maybe that's not a person that needs to be in your life. And mm-hmm. that's okay. Set boundaries. Is there one that you wanted me to share? You were looking at the list.
No, I was just pulling it up so you could see.
Oh, I had it on my phone. You're so sweet, Carlie. Nonverbal communication. I think that's big for females. Mm-hmm. Your body should say exactly what your words are saying. Like the communication should be the same on every level. So if you're telling me that you're confident, but you're like slouching and like playing with things, mm-hmm. and you're talking in a really low voice, and that's not communicating confidence to me. So just whenever you are in a room, to walk in and take charge and to like make sure you're showing that you're confident, not just in your words, but in, you know, how you present yourself and how you shake a hand and looking people in the eye and how, you know, just communicating with people like you deserve to be in the room. Because honestly, I've had people come in an interview with me whose resumes were like, but they were so mm-hmm. confident. They believed in themselves so much. I believed in them. But I was like, yo.
You're always selling yourself.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I could go on forever.
I'm kind of be looking at the last one, number 10, if you want to share something about that.
Sorry, y'all. I'm getting over a sickness. Mm-hmm. Never be afraid to fail. This is a huge mm-hmm. one. Also, I think living in LA, especially, there are so many people here who don't take opportunities because they don't want to be told no. And I am not going to sit here and pretend like failing is easy. Like, there have been relationships I failed at and jobs that I didn't get that I have cried over for days. And you know. But all of those failures, I think, were leading me to the next best thing. And you don't need everybody to say yes to you. Actually, it's a blessing that everybody's not saying yes to you, mm-hmm. because not everything is for you. Amen. And with every failure I've ever had, I've gotten closer to like where I was supposed to be. And you mentioned earlier that I like used to compete in pageants. I competed for years. The year that I lost Miss Virginia, the first year that I competed, I won a local title. I got to the state title. Made top 10, and then I lost, and I was like so sad. Like, I had my whole family and all my friends were in the audience, and I just knew that that was going to be for me. And oh my gosh, I was so sad. And fast forward a week later, I got a letter from Disney that they wanted me to fly out to California to work in their business and legal affairs office. If I had won Miss Virginia, I wouldn't have been able to take that job. And then I took that job, and that introduced me to Los Angeles. And I was like, oh, LA is dope. So like just looking, and I'm sure like both of you could look back over things that you failed at or opportunities you didn't get and remember how sick and sad you felt at the moment. But when you look back at like what came next, it's like, yo, that had to happen in order for me to like do well.
Every time. That's why God's no's sometimes are much better than the yeses. Like, I know, well, let me just speak for myself and Kiara, because I know, like, back in the day, have you ever had a relationship that you just knew that was the one, and then it didn't work out, and now you're like, thank God.
But meanwhile, usually you were struggling the whole time. You were just telling yourself either, oh, this will get better, or you're telling yourself I've gone too far, or you're telling yourself there's nothing else, or whatever.
It's always real with yourself.
Yeah, it's always just you lying to yourself until later, in hindsight, you learn to not romanticize those things that you were just romanticizing, and that really, you know, it wasn't worth it, or it wasn't all there, like, as a positive experience.
And I think that's such a good point. Like, you wanted to, like, work through it and prove to yourself you could do it. I think even being, like, a Black woman and what it means, like, what does Black girl magic mean, right? It's a woman who can get through anything. And one of my mentors recently told me, like, Kiara, you're strong. But just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Like, you don't have to stay in a situation to prove to yourself or to other people or to the person that you can do it.
That you can do it.
Like, sometimes
we're always proving that we can deal with struggle for some reason. And it's like, why are we the main ones who have to be like so strong and deal with all this struggle? And it's like, nah, I want to enjoy my life too.
And only we end up hurt, right? Yeah. We're like, let me prove how much I can carry. And then our backs are broke and everyone's looking at us like.
And then wonder why when you do have attitude or whatever else. And it's like, it just all perpetuates into this crazy cycle.
It does, and it, like, our worth and our value and our strength, like, shouldn't just be determined by how much BS we can get through or how much BS we can carry.
Honestly, the older I get, I'm starting to resent whoever came up with ride or die. Like, the more critically I think about it, I'm just like, Why should I feel like I have to die in order to be in a relationship with you? That can't be healthy.
Mm-mm.
Why can't we live? You know, why can't it be like ride, but if you don't respect my boundaries, I'm walking away? Like, to me, that's a lot, like, it's a healthier relationship.
Much healthier. But you have to learn that from trial and error, right? You have to learn your boundaries and learn what you will accept and won't accept, and get that confidence that you talked about in speaking up and setting them and being able to walk away from the table if people aren't respecting them.
Mm-hmm.
And so Lex, did you have any other questions? Because I feel like I'm just excited over here.
And I just be talking. So if you want to pull me back in, just let me know.
So you actually, in a social media post about your Forbes, I'm going to tie two together. In your social media post, like, oh, y'all, I'm really excited to be featured in Forbes. You said, I almost wrote a feel-good post about Black girl magic, but I'd rather use my platform to be painfully honest. Most days I don't feel like magic. I'd be doing a disservice to you to let you believe that my accomplishments are the product of anything less than faith, sacrifice, support, lots of failure, tears, insecurity, and hard work. You have a theme of being transparent through your struggles. You also shared a post about all the rejections. Like, people ask you, oh my God, how'd you get a job in, LA in the creative industry? And oh my God, you're doing stuff for influencers. Like, how'd you get to do it? Oh my God, you do all this stuff. But you shared all the rejections that you have. And I just wonder if you wanted to share a little bit about why you share those things, or why you deem it's important, and how that's kind of played out in your life.
Yeah, I think growing up for me, the most harmful things to my relationships, my expectations, the things that I was trying to accomplish were just the unrealistic expectations that other people had set. We kind of grew up when MySpace was starting to come up, and I was watching BET all the time. It hit me today. I was listening to some old Sammy songs. Most of what I learned about relationship came from music. Watching BET. Oh, this is what relationship's supposed to be. Oh, I need to get a long black weave. Okay, I need to look like that. My booty got to look like that. Okay, I need to be perfect. I had so many ideas about what it meant to be a cool, successful, beautiful, strong woman. And it took me probably, let's say up until the age of about 25. And then probably the last 4 or 5 years, I've had to deconstruct all of that. And that deconstructing is painful because you're tearing down, right? Anytime you tear something down or break something apart, it's going to rip. If you take two pieces of paper and glue them together, when you tear it apart, it's going to rip. That deconstruction is hurtful. And I think I could have saved a lot of tears, a lot of drama, if someone would have sat down with me and said things like, hey, relationship is not always ride or die. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you're going to wonder why you're with the person or why you made that decision, but you can work it out. Or hey, you're not going to wake up every day in the morning and feel beautiful. Some days you're going to be there's something wrong with my body. Why is my hair the way that it is? Why isn't it longer? Why don't I have white girl hair? Why aren't my eyes a different color? Why isn't my skin lighter or darker, whatever? We all have insecurities. And I think it's by honestly sharing our stories and our struggles, we give somebody else the opportunity to look at our situations and say, wow, me too. And it's really easy to get online and vent about your life and everything's so terrible. So I try to be really strategic. I try to connect my venting to an accomplishment, because then there are two sides. Hey, I went through something really terrible, but I made it to the other side. So now you can look at that and see yourself in it, and whatever you're going through, you can look at it and be you know what? Maybe this isn't the world for me either. Maybe I can accomplish whatever things I'm working on.
That's something a friend of mine focuses on as well, because we talk about social media and are you doing a disservice to not talk about everything in it at the same time? Does everybody need to know all of your business? And so he says the same thing where he's you know what? I'm not here to just be preaching, talking, but I feel good telling you about that rejection or that bad thing that happened because I can give you the full story behind it. So in the same way, it's we connect all of these things. And I agree. I think that is one of the best ways. Was there some big thing that happened to you that caused that snap and that, you know what, I got to go back and figure everything out and do that deconstruction?
I think
was there a breaking point?
Moving to LA in general, I'm super close to my family, and all my friends from the time I was born were all on the East Coast. So coming out here as an extrovert who loves people, coming out here and feeling like I was in isolation, I really had to sit with myself in ways that I hadn't had to before. And also in a beautiful way, I was far away from all of the people who I previously was trying to like impress, or, you know, they think I'm supposed to be like this, but I'm really like that. Like I came out here and no one knew me. So I could just be whoever, I could like kind of like a fresh start, be whoever I wanted to be. And in trying to like decide, all right, who is this new Kiara? I had to ask myself like really tough questions. And I think it hit me a little bit like, yo, I don't even know if I know myself. Like, what do I actually like? Like, what do I want to wear? Not what's cool, not what is Kim K or Beyonce wearing, not what does that man want me to wear? What do people think is going to make my body look good? What's on trend? What do I like? And having to like ask those questions and answer them for myself was like a whole bout of like soul searching of like, oh my gosh, I've been pretending this whole time. Like I used to watch football every Sunday.
Yeah, she doesn't like sports.
I don't like sports at all. Daddy, I love you. My dad loves sports. I've dated athletes, and every boy I ever met watched sports. So I was like, that's just what I have to do. I got out here and was like, yo, I don't even like no kind of sports ball.
Not sports ball.
None.
That's real.
Which sounds like silly, but just like little
That's
things
a good point, though.
where you're just like learning how to spend your time doing things that you actually like to do and free from like expectation. And honestly, like moving out here and like being single, like let's talk about it. I didn't have no boy, no man that I was trying to impress. And I think in like every other relationship, even as when I hate generalizing, but a lot of times with women, because of the way our society is set up, men are the ones that ask women out. They ask women to marry them, whatever. We're always in this position of being like the waity Katie. Like, when is he going to ask me? When is he going to want to move forward? When is he going to introduce me to his parents? Like, we're in a constant state of wonder. And a lot of times we don't even say it out loud, but like every little thing we're wondering, is he going to text me? Wondering if he's liking other girls' Instagram pictures. Is he going to like my picture? And like all of that wastes so much energy that you don't even give yourself enough space to figure out like, what do I want to do? Like, what do I like? Who am I? So like letting go of the wonder was a beautiful thing, like moving out here.
When you said that story, it made me think of me doing something similar. Cause like I said, I'm very introverted. And in my high school, like even when I go back home, I don't hit up anybody. I'm not really super friends with anybody from high school, but I did the same thing when I went to college. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. And the first night there, like I went and was knocking on like my dorm people's like doors, introducing myself, and I ordered pizza. And like, I was like, I want to be more of a people person, more outgoing. And I just decided like, I'm going to do that. And so I think even back then, which is like 15 or something, way more than actually years ago, that there are different points where you do that as well, because since then I'm still like totally different. So then maybe like in your 30s or then later on, or with different transitions with jobs or whatever, I feel like you consistently are reevaluating like who you are. And I can tell when you know how when you speak to older women, especially like older Black women, like who don't, you know, they say what they want to say, they're very blunt.
True.
And it's like, I hate to put it with age, but I guess it just is like awareness tends to come more with the living and with you getting to the point where you're like, I'm tired of doing this thing over and over or feeling this way or whatever it is. But I feel like we just care more and more about the right things, which is us. And maybe that's a socialized thing, especially as women, that we're socialized to care so much about everything else and take care of everything else. But we really, as we grow more to care about ourselves and love ourselves, it's so easy to make those decisions as well. It's so interesting how, you know, with guys, like you get to a point where you're like, it's me first. And you don't care what people say because you don't need them. Like it doesn't, none of that stuff even matters anymore. So I do like that.
It's so freeing. And honestly too, like accountability is also a really important part of that. Sorry, I gotta cough. Sorry guys. Accountability is really important. I am an 8 on the Enneagram. I'm an attorney. I'm a communicator. So I can talk myself into anything. I can talk myself into believing anything. And if I want to, I can manipulate other people and talk them into things too. I'm not proud of it. But because of that, I think it's so important to have like real friends like Carlie. And I'm sure you're great too. It's just that we're just meeting.
Right, that's real. Yeah, keep it real.
I don't want to lie. You cute though. Hey. Where were we? Oh yeah. Great friends, accountability, and people that can really hold a mirror to your face, because, you know, we deceive ourselves, yo. like, especially when we were talking about like relationship and like being happy. Sometimes we want the things so bad, we can tell ourselves like, no, I'm okay with this. Like, I'm cool. I don't need a title. You can talk to other girls. What? And we pretend to be this cool girl on the outside, but on the inside, we're dying. And we're not dying because of what's happening on the outside. We're dying because we're not being real with ourselves. And so it's important to have friends in your life that are like, hey girl, like, I know you said you're cool with this, but you also told me that like marriage is a value for you. Like, you also told me that like celibacy is important to you, and you don't have that in this moment. So let's talk about that. And like trusting those people to have those honest conversations with you and to not get defensive. Like, you hating, you don't understand, you trying to mess up a good thing.
I'm about to say, it still is about you and how you take it, and you really being ready to accept that also, because it's so many times now, it's like, there's certain people, if I'm not but so close to them, I'm not going to have that conversation with you because I don't feel like you saying I'm mad at this or I'm mad at that or whatever. Like, I know you're not going to listen because you're not there. So a lot of times, just like how you're doing with them in Fortune or with your own life and with things like the speaking that you're doing right now on this podcast, those are the types of things that I think listeners, people who see you and watch you see that example, and they're thinking about what you're saying, and now they're really asking themselves without it being like you're calling me out if I'm like really right in your face asking you. So I think it's good that we continue to do those things and like question ourselves in a way that's vulnerable for our friends to kind of see that. And then I feel like it is easier to have those conversations too.
Yeah, but like I think we always get back to this in every episode, but it always starts with self-awareness and like realizing what level you're available with, but also being vulnerable with your friends enough, or the people in your life enough to know like, she gonna call me out. Like, if I call her and tell her this story, like, she's gonna see through all the BS and be like, that's not what we talked about. But being, honest with yourself. And I knew I was gonna ask you about the cool girl reference as soon as you started talking about relationships, because that's, something that we had to deconstruct. Like, women, you can't seem too needy, and you can't do this and you can't do that just from what society tells you. Like, don't call too much, don't text first, let him pursue you, do this. But if you want to pursue, then you have to figure out what works for you. Pursue.
I've thrown out all those rules and started over. Like, okay, let's just talk about this for a second. You're not supposed to say that you want commitment. You just have to let it happen. But if I really want commitment, I'm doing you a disservice and myself a disservice to sit in this situation and pretend like I'm cool. Like, let's be honest, because when I flip out on you when I don't get what I want, and you're going to be like, well, why didn't you tell me you want it? Why didn't you walk away? Why did you stay? And you know what? You're right. And I hate to say that, but like at the end of the day, you treat people how to teach you. And that's not victim blaming in any way. Obviously, if somebody is hitting you, if somebody is taking advantage or emotionally, physically abusing you, you're not deserving of that. But when people start to treat you a certain way and you don't like the way it feels, but you remain in the situation, at that point, you're enabling, and like being real with yourself to be like, yo, if I'm unhappy, I have the power to walk away.
You do. And being okay with walking away. But that's like, it just comes back to self-awareness, right? And being real with yourself. Like, that's actually not what I want. Or like Lex said, as like we get older, learning to choose ourselves and knowing that that's not in alignment with what you feel like your goals or your passions or your purpose is, like, in life.
And also too, on that note, like not taking, like, back to the rejections, like personally, not taking rejection personally.
Don't take anything personally.
Whether it's relationship or whether it's a job or whatever, you never know why you didn't get a particular opportunity or a particular thing didn't work out. And a lot of times it's for your benefit. And let's be honest, sometimes it's not that thing is not going to work forever, or that job. I interviewed for a job a year ago, okay? And went in for the interview, thought it went great, not going to call out the employer. Never heard back. I was there for 6 hours, never heard back. Sent follow-up emails, never heard back. I was really tempted to call and tell them about themselves. Like, do you know what I am worth? Okay, I went to a top 10 law school. I took 6 hours out of my day, and you're not gonna call me back. But I did it. I sent my thank you notes, and I left it at that. Can I tell you something? The other day, they sent me an email talking about, we have an opening up. Everybody at the office loved you. We just had a lot going on at the time, so we didn't end up hiring. Like, would you be interested? And granted, I'm happy where I am, so I'm not trying to leave. But if I still wanted that job, it could be mine. And I almost ruined an opportunity because I was in my ego, ready to tell them about themselves. Meanwhile, I didn't know what was happening with the company. You know, I made all these assumptions and I internalized it and made it about me. Like maybe it was because I was Black. Maybe it's because I wasn't smart enough. Maybe this, that. And it had nothing to do with me. They liked me.
Yeah. Everything is a reflection of the other person. So when I was in college, there was this person, like one of my coworkers that told me, like, whenever you don't like somebody, it's because they're reflecting something back about yourself that you're either insecure about or don't like. And I had to really chew on that because I didn't understand it. But now I realize that even when people give you feedback, a lot of times it's just a reflection more so on them than it is of you. That doesn't mean you shouldn't listen and like work on yourself, but just keeping in mind and not letting it affect you on a deep level. There's Don Miguel Ruiz wrote The 4 Agreements, and the first one is Don't Take Anything Personally. It's a really good book. It sounds so simple, but it is so life-changing when you think about it. Like, well, why didn't she answer my call? Or why didn't they email me back? Or why were they 45 minutes late? Like, it's all you like internalize. Or why did the person cut me off in traffic? Has nothing to do with
Nothing to do. And I feel in order to be responsible, I have to say on the other side of that, there are some people or some of y'all that are just completely unqualified, don't work hard, show up late for your interviews, are unprepared, didn't look up the company, have no idea what you're doing, and you still sitting there like, why didn't they call me back? Like, you got like self-awareness, like don't take it personally, but at the same time, like that's when it comes to like having accountability to like have a friend sit with you and be like, let me give you some suggestions or some reasons as to why this may not have worked out. And like, but again, don't take it personally. If you're really looking to change a situation, you got to be willing to take constructive criticism and be strong enough to make the change.
So, Kiara, what are you working on right now? Because it seems like you have a very big passion on the empowerment of women. With your work, you get to basically do the things that you actually went to school for. So you're kind of balancing both, which actually maybe I should back up to say, why do you choose to balance both instead of just focusing maybe on, empowerment of women and I want to change the world? Or do you see it necessary to have, an air quote, a real job and also these other things that you want to focus on?
At the moment, I love having a real job. I like the security. Actually, I also just like my real job. I think there's this line of thought now that's like, I don't want a 9-to-5 that's not for me. And for some people, it's really not for them. But for other people, you just haven't found a 9-to-5 that fits. You know, like you haven't found a job that fits. And a lot of my prior jobs didn't fit, and this one fits really well. So
you get to enjoy the stability and do what you want to do on the side.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And on that note too, I just feel like we're all such complex, complicated individuals. Like God said he designed us in his image and he was not one-dimensional. Like we talk about how he's like the author of the universe, but like the world is beautiful. Like he's the author of like biology, psychology, all types of science, all types of beauty. Everything we know about creation comes from that. And we're made in his image. Like, we're good at so many different things. Even if you look at a kid, if you take a 5-year-old, they're good at, like, this video game, but they're also, like, love to read these types of books. And they also, like, love to be out in science. And we have so many interests. And it feels, for me, at least, I feel unfulfilled when I'm not tapping into, like, every piece of, like, who God created me to be. So I couldn't just work a 9-to-5 and not serve at church or not give back to my community or not empower women or not have a nonprofit. But I also couldn't do those other things and not fully invest in like the business piece, you know, like it's all part of who I am.
So there's no sacrifice. Like you get to do some of everything that you want to be doing and be drawn towards.
How do you pick which things to work on? Because you have so much on your plate, right? So you don't have enough time in the day to do everything all day, every day. So how do you pick like, okay, this is when I'm going to work for, do something for Imani Arts. This is when I'm going to do something for women's empowerment. Like, how do you choose? Like, what kind of leads you?
So I used to be a lot more methodological about it. Did I say that word correctly? Yeah, that. I'm so smart. I used to be more what she said about it, where I'd like schedule everything. I'd schedule all of my time. There's so much time. I always tell myself, we got the same amount of time in a day that Beyonce does, bro. The same amount. She don't get no extra special time. So I would schedule out like, I'm going to watch TV for 30 minutes. I'm going to be on Instagram for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work on this for an hour. And if you schedule out your time, like you can use it. There's so much time in a day. I tell people that you can write a whole, let's say you want to be a singer or whatever. You could write an entire album in a week if you sat down and really did it. And a lot of great artists will tell you that that's what they've done in the past. Or like, oh, we went to the studio and knocked out however many songs. You just got to be like focused. So it's the same way I tell people that you should be budgeting your money. If you have $1,000 in your bank account, you know, this rent is going to cost this much, groceries are going to cost this much, gas is just going to cost this much, and this is my leftover. You can do that with your time. Like, I have 5 hours for this, 3 hours for this, 6 hours for sleep, whatever, and think about it that way. I think now I've gotten to the point where I'm really good at doing that, like, naturally. So I'm moving more towards, like, what feels like what, right? Like what my spirit is calling me towards. And at certain times, my spirit is just telling me to focus on different things. And I try to like listen and pay attention to that and not be too hard on myself either. You know, like give myself grace.
Yes, be kind to yourself. Start there.
Yeah.
Because we're human. I mean, super women, yes, but human also. So where is that guiding you now? What are you currently working on?
So, oh gosh, what am I currently working on? What month is this? January?
January.
Okay, so I'm going to Fashion Week in February.
Hey.
I'm speaking
It's
at
February when this
South by
comes out.
Southwest in March.
Hey.
I have the next Femme in Fortune in April, and then I have an Imani Arts event in May. So I have like my plan for the first half of the year.
Cool.
After May, I will probably, like I usually do, take a good month or two to do nothing productive. Reset is really important to me. Like, and you know, we've talked about this before, especially after I've achieved a lot of things. I like to like just sit in it for a little bit, because if we're always trying to get to tomorrow, we'll never be happy with today. Like if you're always looking forward to it, like just think about it for a second in your own lives. Think about how many things that you like prayed to or prayed for or like asked for or really wanted. And you were like, if I only had this thing, everything would be great. Think about how many of those things you have right now.
Yeah.
Like probably for most of us, yeah, a lot of things. And if we never take the time to sit in those spaces and just be grateful for them and enjoy them, like what was the point anyway? And like people keep asking me like, oh, so you were featured in Forbes. Like, what's the next thing? And I was like, I was featured in Forbes. Can I sit for a second?
Right.
The next thing is I'm going to go get a margarita with my friends and watch some television and relax and thank God for what he's blessed me with. Like, that's what's next.
Okay. So where can people find you?
Well, you can Google me. I'm just kidding. That's such like a terrible thing to say. People say that.
It is what it is. You up there. You up there.
You can follow me on Instagram, Kiara Imani Will, KIARAIMANIWILL. Twitter, I guess, Kiara_Imani. I only tweet like once a month, if that. So might not be the best platform to follow me. LinkedIn. I'm actually really active on LinkedIn. I don't know if that's weird. That's how I know I'm getting old.
Lex is the LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's the main place to be.
Great.
Yeah.
I love LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome. And then are you, for anything that you're working on, are you looking for anything? Do you need anything? If any of our listeners, like, do you need connection for anything?
Man, what do I need? I'm thinking about hiring an intern for like the Femme in Fortune stuff. So if you are passionate about empowering women or you are a woman who wants to be empowered, reach out to me. Other than that, not at the moment. Not at the moment.
Super dope. Lex, oh, my bad, y'all.
End it with a bang.
Dang, literally. We always end with the question of the week.
Am I hitting them with the question?
You hitting them with the question.
The question of the week, and we're going to start with Kiara first as the guest, is how does my outer world reflect my inner life?
How does my outer world reflect my inner life? I think I am constantly surrounded by creative people, and internally I now process the world around me in a much more creative and beautiful way.
I like that.
How about you, Lex?
I would say my outer world reflects my inner life through order. Or in that way, I guess what I'm saying is that I can tell, when I'm most at peace and when I'm feeling good, there's not clothes all over the place in my room so much, or, things are nice and neat in my planner and everything's just more order. Not that things don't just happen, but I feel like when things are getting out of order, that's usually a sign of something else going on internally. And so what's going on there and addressing that's a way for me to see that I need to take a moment to maybe deconstruct or take a moment to be self-aware and ask myself what's going on.
Man, I just times 2. But because she said that, the other thing I'll say is looking at my friendships and my relationships and the energy, right? So my inner world, when I'm at peace, when I'm taking care of myself, like that just reciprocates in the relationships and the energy and the opportunities that come at me. It's like, just like God in the universe knows that I'm ready for this, or all my relationships, we're having these amazing, deep, difficult conversations, but we're all growing and we're all learning and we're all on this path together. So that is how my inner world or my outer world reflects my inner life. Y'all think about that question this week. Screenshot, #Carlie's Couch, @me and Lex, @Kiara. Let us know that you're listening. @Kiara Imani Will.
And I just want to thank Kiara before we wrap up for being our guest today. I did not know much about you, but after this, I see you are full of gems, full of keys. And I just love how you basically are just wanting to spark everybody to love themselves and to take time to understand themselves and to assess where they are and to move forward without hesitation. So thank you for being an example of that and for doing that. And we will see y'all next week.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. This was perfect. This was amazing.
Yeah, bye, y'all. Happy Monday.